Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I am excited. Yeah, I did. I am excited to be hanging out with you guys today, and so I'm super excited for session 2 of Business Without Limits Live. One of the reasons why is because over the past year we've really updated some of our content, updated some of our materials, and got to bring this show on the road a little bit and get some tweaks. So I'm going to jump in a little bit of what we're going to be doing today, about what the class is going to look like, and got some great feedback from some folks that were in here last time. So I'm excited to get going. And by the way, one of the things I also want to be doing is we got a lot of strong emails and questions about what business applications are we using. So one of the things that I'm going to do is feature for the next 8 weeks some sort of a vendor that we use. Today we're going to be using Contactually, and we use these, so all the vendors that we use and how we use them in our business so that they can help you guys. We get a lot of like, which vendors should we use, which applications to use. So today's Contactually, but each week I want to get one out there as a way of showing what you guys can use and how you guys can use it as well too, and how it benefits your business as well, and something that we use as well. So all right, so we know that 95% of success is what? It's psychology, right? 95% of success in business, in physicality, in spiritual is all about mental success. It's the psychology of it. So why is that so important? Because most of us settle for mediocrity, right? Most of us settle for not even knowing what we're capable of. And so what I want to hit on today is, why do we do this? Because I think fundamentally, if we can understand what makes us tick and understand how we get ourselves to break free from mediocrity in order to live the life that we're going to have, we're actually truly going to have a business without limits. And remember, business without limits is all about having freedom in your life. And it's not just freedom for you, it's the freedom for the people that are around you. So when you put people in the right positions and you put people in the right opportunities, it's freeing for them. That's what people don't understand. Remember, it's selfish to not allow somebody else the opportunity for that freedom, because you're actually restricting their gifts. So when you don't allow somebody to shine, and you hold somebody back from mediocrity in your organization, or yourself hold back from mediocrity, you're actually preventing your gifts from shining. And so how do we make sure that we're allowing people in our world to do this? Because remember, this is a high-level leadership course here. I'm talking to people that are at a high level, and hopefully that's okay with you guys. Let's remember, life is too short to live below your potential. But most of us don't even understand what our potential is. So we like to implement the 40% rule. And you hear this a lot in HRG, you hear this a lot if you're around me. It's about, most of us are only tapping into 40% of what we're capable of on a daily basis. 40%. And that's a statistical measurement. So think about that for a second. If you're only tapping into 40% and you think you had a busy day, what happened to the remaining 60% that's there? What if you could actually tap into that without using any more energy, just using some more intensity throughout your day to tap into the other 60%, so that you become focused enough so that you're actually tapping and putting yourself beyond the 40% that you have there? And so how do you do that, right? So we hear this a lot of, okay, well, I need to embrace the suck. I need to, I'm only tapping into 40%. I know that it's 95% success, and so it's psychology in order to succeed in anything. So how do I break free from that? Well, I'd like to break it down into 3 things here. So what does it mean to think big, right? What does it mean to think big? We hear that a lot, that term being thrown around. But how do you apply that into your everyday life? And so this is how I like to think about it. And by the way, I see some questions coming up. I'll definitely answer questions at the end, so there'll be time for that. So what does it mean to think big? It starts with your daily success habits. But fundamentally, what I want you guys to think about is, are you creating a structure in your life that forces you to grow every day? So just hang on to that for a second. Are you creating a structure, or are you in a structure that forces you to grow by at least 1% every day? Well, most of us aren't, and most of us are afraid to actually step into the structure that allows us and that pushes us beyond what we're capable of. Why? Fear. Fear will paralyze us from doing this. What about if I fail? What if I can't do it? What if I can't hold up to the bargain? What if I actually become really successful? Don't allow, you have to learn to dance with fear. And we actually talk a lot about that throughout the class. But most importantly, I want you guys, and I need you guys to really step up and understand that your daily success habits are and is your structure. So this is the miracle morning. This is your lunchtime, if that's what you want to go out there and work on your personal development. This is setting yourself up for it. Think about it. When you think about a Navy SEAL, just because they're so popular right now, right? And for Navy SEALs, and I love the military, when they go through Hell Week, do you think anybody outside of Hell Week actually goes and puts their body through that same type of torture that they have to go through? Do you actually think it's even possible if they could if they weren't in that structure? No, they couldn't. And by the way, it's actually not, and they use 80% mental, 20% physical. Most people fail not because of the 80% of the physical component, but it's the 80% of the mental component. And why is that? It's because they get outside of themselves and think that, oh my God, this is going to last every day like this. I can't sustain this. And then they pull the bell because it's the easy thing to do. What they want is they want to create a structure so that if people are in a battlefield, people are going to, they're going up against their competition. They hit a stressful day, by the way. They want to make sure that people have the emotional fitness to stand next to them. And you as the leader in developing a business without limits, creating the freedom for everybody, you know, by the way, you need the people that are going to be around you that can handle that stress. That when stuff hits the fan, that they're going to be there right with you. Because if you're constantly stretching somebody already, then they're going to snap. And that's not what it is. So how do you make sure that you're creating that structure so that you're attracting, right? You're attracting the people who actually want that accountability. If you think about it, there's thousands. First of all, remember, you need a Navy to find Navy SEALs, right? So most of us only know what the highest level of talent is in our organization based on the highest level of talent we have ever had in our organization. So if you want to think bigger, we need to create our daily success habits. So what does this mean? This means getting up purposefully. Remember, the only reason why you'd want to go to bed early is because you have a reason to get up early. Remember that. If you have no purpose to get up early, you won't go to bed early. If you don't have no purpose of going to bed early, you stay up late and just snack on everything and get on your soapbox, right? And you stay on there, and then you sleep in. So what's your purpose to get you up in the morning? Because when you have that, and that's your daily success habits, learn to love those, because that's going to trigger the fact of how you start thinking big. And if we understand that 95% of success is psychology, then it starts with thinking. Remember, thinking equals actions, right? Our actions are equals the result of a result. So if we see somebody's results, right, in the public workplace, it's because of how they've been thinking in the behind the scenes. Remember, people are rewarded publicly for what they do in the privacy, right? People are rewarded publicly for what they've been doing in private. And it starts with how you act in your private and your thoughts. You can see how somebody's thinking from that. So it's, you get up early. Look, again, it doesn't have to be at 3:45 in the morning. You figure out what your routine is, but it needs to start with something. Maybe it's just starting with making your bed because you have a victory. Maybe it's starting by not hitting your snooze 5 times and just hitting it once, and that's your daily success habit. But you're training your mind to think differently, right? Are we doing a little Apple commercial here, right? And so think about that for a second. When you go from having a habit that you have to creating a new habit that tells your mind, that says, hey, look, I know that you're going to say no to this, but I'm going to overcome you, and I'm just going to get up and do this right now. That starts to create your daily success habits. And by the way, this creates a virtuous cycle. So it may start from flossing your teeth. It may start from saying no to a certain food that you eat at night every night, right? And just whatever it is, but that builds upon yourself. So you've got to create that structure within yourself that creates a daily success habit. And most importantly, remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask. And that is never going to change. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask yourself. Remember, thinking is nothing but asking yourself a series of questions and then answering it in your own mind. So when you do this, most of us allow these questions that are floating through our mind to be planted by other people, by the media, by somebody around us, right? So really, they're controlling your life. But to have a business and the freedom to live the life that you want to, you need to start planting your own questions, right? So how do you plant bigger and better questions? Well, it starts with tools that we're going to give you throughout the entire course so that you can use this. It's the models, the systems, and tools to be able to start asking bigger and better questions. But from a conceptual standpoint, I want you guys to think of it in terms of, remember, the quality of the question you ask creates a box in your life. So if I ask, how do I do $1,000 in GCI every month? To answer that question is very simple. I mean, there's 1,000 different ways to do $1,000 in GCI every month. But if I say, how do I do $1,000 of GCI every hour? That is a different question. It doesn't take any more energy to it. By the way, the answer is completely different. And most importantly, and don't forget this, most importantly, who you have to become in order to answer that second question is what's ultimately going to allow you to create your business. Because it's who you become, which is why people want to actually be around you. It's why the top talent wants to go near you, is because they see that you're willing to ask those bigger questions. By the way, they don't even know if you're going to make it. They just want to be a part of that. They want to be around that. So when you wake up in the morning and you start creating your daily success habits of creating your structure, whether that's getting up earlier, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's meditation, whether that's just eating healthier, whether that's walking for 5 minutes, whether that's staying off your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day, they're all daily success habits. Maybe that's telling somebody that you love them every morning because it's hard for you. Find something that's hard for you and you resist, and that's your daily success habit. And then you plant that with asking bigger and better questions. It starts feeding your daily success. Because if you ask, how do I create $1,000 in GCI every day, right? If you start asking that question, or every hour, the success habits that you have to create in order to do that become larger themselves. So your box grows bigger, and so doesn't your life. And that's the beauty about this. I'll give you an example. In February, HRG started off pretty slow. So I think we did like 18 pendings from February 1st to right after family reunion. So I think that Saturday we did like 18 pendings. And I kind of woke up and I said, well, hold on. Our team we've lost our ability to get really focused here. So we called all hands on deck and said, we worked all weekend. We said, okay, what do we need to do in order to change the focus? And we launched this 10 pendings in 10 days, right? So each team has to do 10 pendings in 10 days. And in 9 days, I believe we're at 55 pendings for our little competition that we did there, which puts us about 75 for the month, which isn't necessarily a bad month, but it's the last 9 days we had 55 or so pendings with more coming in versus the first 18, and that just started because we started asking a different question. We started asking, what was the number? How do we get people motivated? How do we get them to see this? How do we get them engaged? And it starts with us. So let's ask us those questions, and that's what our leadership team did, and that's how we pushed them, right? And lastly, confidence. The reason why we allow fear to show up in our life is because we lack a certain confidence. Now, arrogance is different than confidence. Remember, arrogance thinks that you know how to do everything even though you don't know how to do it, and because of just who you are and you're just an amazing person and like you can just do everything by yourself, right? Confidence means that you don't actually know everything, but you know that you're capable of finding a way to do it or by asking for help. Most of us are afraid to ask for help in life, right? But our team, the reason why we have our team next to us is to tap into that help. It's to tap in the resources that are behind us that allow us to create that business, to create that life that we're all after. We've got to be willing to allow other people's gifts to shine, and that's by asking for help. It's actually a sign of trustworthiness and intimacy, and not in that way, folks. When you ask people for help, it means that, hey, I trust you and value you. I need your help. It's not a weakness. And if you implement all three of these, this is what it really means to start thinking big. It starts with your daily success habits. It starts with asking bigger and better questions. And then you add confidence to all this, and it creates a virtuous cycle. Remember that if you start doing all three of these things, your thinking changes, which changes your actions, which ultimately changes your results. Now, don't expect it to all of a sudden tomorrow you're going to be doing 500 transactions in a day. But what I want you to concentrate on is the 1% growth every day. Think about how fast the past year just went by for you. I want you to think about that for a second. What if every day you just grew by 1%? Where would you be now? Well, let me tell you, in a year from now, you're going to be somewhere doing something, and you're going to remember this conversation. You're going to go, I'm so happy I gave it my all and gave it my 1%. You're probably going to be in my organization if you did. If you didn't, you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt and hoping and wishing that you did and trying to make another change. So let's not cheat ourselves here, folks. Most of us do that. Most of us cheat ourselves on setting these goals. We have these great intentions of doing things, and then we cheat ourselves. Why do we allow ourselves to cheat, by the way? Think about that. Think about it. We cheat ourselves on a lot of things. We cheat ourselves on our ability to stay focused, our intensity level. That's a big one, is our intensity level. Look, you can go in there and you can make a phone call every hour. You can pick up and make a phone call every 30 seconds. So you can door knock 3 homes, you can door knock 300. You're the only one that can bring that intensity for it. So what I want you to think about as you're thinking bigger is what your daily, I want you to write it down. And if you're driving, pull over, write it down right now. What's your daily success habit? What question are you going to implement in your mind, and how you get out of confidence? By the way, we break all of this down in our class. This is just 25 minutes of just kind of highlighting some of the things that we're going on here. We actually give you the models and tools and some new things that we've created to be able to give to you guys for that. So remember, I want you to, so some of the standards that you're going to have in your life, right? So if you have, so in order to think big and create standards, you have to put things in your life. Remember, you can have a big heart, but it doesn't mean you need to save everybody. You can have a big heart, does not mean you need to save everybody. And people earn the personal conversations by earning the right to be next to you through the business conversations. Because you only want, right? You only want the people that are around you that have earned the right to be there, because when stuff hits the fan, you know that they need to be there and they've been thinking the same way you are. Don't ever let anyone put a limit on your thinking. I actually heard Warren Buffett say this the best one time. The reason why he got in the business for himself is because he felt like somebody was always putting a box on my thinking. And I just happened to go into an industry that made a lot of money. That was his thing, and that's why you're seeing a direct reflect on it. But it was the fact that people were limiting my thinking. And I think fundamentally when people start limiting our thinking, that's when people hit depression. That's when people get bored, right? It's because your limits are on your thinking. And so how do you allow an organization to grow without having limits on your thinking, which is this, right? So when you're setting goals, again, we're going to walk you through how to do all these things, the 8 steps. When you set a goal and you double it, right? By the way, your goal is not designed so that you hit it. Your goal is designed so that you ask a bigger question. See how this ties together? You want your goal to, maybe it's 100 transactions, maybe it's 1,000 transactions. It's not designed to actually go out there and get it. Your goal is designed to get you to think differently. So if you want to go out there and lose 3 pounds, the goal is to lose 3 pounds in 60 days. Or you can say, how do I lose 3 pounds, or how do I lose 30 pounds in 60 days? 2 different questions. Same energy, 2 different responses, and you become somebody different. So I want you guys to be thinking bigger. And then you have to move everything from an emotional conversation to a metric. Everything comes down to a number. Everything does. So when you're talking and you're hearing all the people in your organization having great days, and you're hearing all this emotional conversation, all this optimism, and you're so excited about it because they're just going on a rant, and you love that, and you say, great, it's going to be awesome, and then a week later they're having the same conversation, but nothing's changed. That's when you say, great, okay, what's your number going to be? How many pennies are you going to hit? How many recruiting calls are you going to make? How many lead generation phone calls are you going to have? How many development deals are going to fall down the pipeline? Bring everything back to a metric so that you can lead quickly and efficiently, and by creating that structure to be able to push people beyond that, what they thought was possible. That's what I want you guys to focus on, right? And so what standards do you have for your life right now, right? I just give you some examples, but I mean, how many times do you tell your kids you love them each day? Is that a standard in your life, or you just do it entrepreneurially, right? Remember something about being an entrepreneur. Most of us believe that if we're an entrepreneur, we're a business owner. And that's actually wrong. Most of us, all of us, have an entrepreneurial tendencies, which means that we can navigate ourselves through a problem and get us to the end. When you move from being an entrepreneur to a business owner, you have to navigate through all the challenges and problems that show up, but you're doing it through other people, which is very humbling because they make mistakes and because they do things that you never thought were possible. But that's part of it. And so you have to stick with it long enough, right? So just remember that as you're growing, it's about succeeding in succession through other people, not you actually doing it, and it's succeeding through that. And that's really powerful. So how many times do you tell your kids you love them each day? How many times do you work out each week? Think about that, right? How many times do you do it? What's your standard? If you walk around the room, you can see who has a standard of working out 7 days a week or 5 days a week, right? You can see what people's standards are in their physical world. You can actually see what their standards are based on how they spend money. You can send a lot of people's standards based on how they're thinking, based on their outcome of what they're doing in the material world, right? How many date nights do you have each week with your partner? Are they set up? Are they in your calendar? How many vacations do you go on each year? Again, find a number. It's not the point is not what the number is. It's you actually become purposeful on putting it in your life. This is what we talk about by being purposeful, asking bigger questions and bringing everything to a metric, because your standards are going to set you up for success in your life in all categories. By the way, what happens, the coolest thing that happens is it actually starts leaking to every other aspect of your life. You can't control it into one aspect. Once you see it working in another area in which maybe you didn't think it was going to work, when you're actually finishing that, right, when you're actually seeing that happen, the cool thing is now it leaks in other people's lives. And you know what the biggest benefit of this? When you start changing the standards in your life, you know what happens to people around you? Yeah, you guys are probably all shaking your head. The people around you change. They change their standards, right? So some of you may know I've been training for an Ironman for 5 months, and I have 3 of them planned. One is in the first 3 weeks, which I'm super excited for. But part of that training, it's intense, it's long, I have to get up early, I have to be very purposeful in my training. Some days I want to fall over and just not be alive, but if you push through and you find a way. But it's actually helped me so much in my business. Another thing it's done is the people that are closest to me, it's got them motivated to do other things. It's actually inspired them. Now my wife has signed up for a marathon for the first time because she naturally started seeing that happen. I didn't ask her to, I didn't tell her to. She wanted to do it because of the standards that I put in my life. And that's what the beauty about it is. And by the way, talent wants to be around people who have high standards. Write that down. Talent wants to be around people who have very high standards. And remember, there is a big difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. Isn't that so true, though? Like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that when I feel like it, when I feel great, and I feel this, right? When you're feeling great and things are awesome and they're rolling, it's pretty easy to be in a good mood. If things are going well, it's great. It's pretty easy to lead. It's pretty easy to be jolly. It's when those moments where everything is attacking you at once and you feel like you just want to crawl, how do you lead then? Have you created enough ability to have emotional fitness throughout your time? Have you been training for that day? Because when that day happens, and it will show up, do you have the emotional fitness to push through? Because when you do, when it just feels like you're not going to be able to get through there, something breaks, and it just does. But you've got to be willing. It's almost as like life wants to see if you're willing to push yourself to that point before it gives you that little break and says, keep going. It's like when you're golfing, you know, you have 17 bad shots and you want to quit, and all of a sudden you're like, screw it, I'm going to do it, and you take one more shot, and it feels just absolutely beautiful, and you're like, okay, I like this. It doesn't even matter what happens to other shots, it's there, right? So when you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. And I like to change that. You don't cheat yourself, right? When you're committed to something, you won't cheat. You follow the model. You follow the process. One of the things that we're going to be giving to you guys throughout this course is all the bonus material that we have, which is really our platform. So if you think about a platform that we have, it's models, systems, and most importantly, the thing that you won't have is the people, right? The people is what drive the model, the systems, and drive the platform, which allow people around you to plug into that, to scale off your platform, to follow the model and the process to become the most successful that they want to be. Right? So when agents come into our world for HRG and they want to, we always share with them, look, we're here to set you up. Think about it as a gym, right? We have the best equipment. We've got the best facility. We have the best coaches and trainers, right? We have all the best facilities. It's 24 hours a day. You can do it anytime. It's all right here for you, but you still got to get on the treadmill and run, dude. You still got to hit resistance. It's not just you're going to walk into a gym and all of a sudden sit there and through osmosis, you're going to lose weight, right? You still got to move. You got to sweat. You got to feel it. But you've earned the right. The reason why backcountry and sports is so popular right now is because you've earned your turns, right? It's one of the things that's happening. You guys aren't following me there, but it's good, right? So stick to your standards, right? First of all, define what they are. Who do you want to be? And we're going to do this in our tools through our future selves, which has been updated. We're going to work through that a little bit differently, and it's going to be a good refresher for people who have seen it before. We're going to put standards in your calendars. We're going to put standards so we easily tracking metrics and tools. And when we get to these in each class, I'm going to give you the models and systems that we use so you have these tools to be able to put into your life to take it to the next level. That's my goal for all of this. And when you come out of this class, out of these 8 weeks, is that when you walk away from this, you're committed to growing yourself by 1%. And at the end, when we end all of this, you're going to see that. You're going to see that you've now created a structure for yourself that every day you're going to grow by 1%. And that's my goal for you. That's our goal from everybody at our organization, by the way. That's going to help you along this journey as well, too. And I want you to think of something, I want you to think of life as a rubber band, right? Where most of us in our structure, we started talking about 95% of success is psychology and 5% is actual mechanics. And we started talking about how thinking big actually is what is going to be the largest impact on your life. And so when you think about a rubber band, you want people in your world to be able to stretch themselves. So when we talk about this 1% growth, I want you to think about a rubber band that if tomorrow all of a sudden we went out there and said, you've got to run a marathon and you've never ran anything before, you're going to snap your rubber band. And by the way, it's going to be hard to patch it back up. So no matter where you are, it doesn't matter. That's the point. You're only a few months, a few years, as you heard Gary say, 5 years away from where you need to be. So in a rubber band scenario, follow me for a second. If you go out and run that marathon, you're going to snap. But what if every day you said, okay, tomorrow you're going to go out and run a half mile, right? And you stretch a little bit. And then at night you come back and you recover and you eat well and you sleep, and the rubber band recovers. And every day that rubber band's allowed to stretch even more and more and more. And so from day one, you can only stretch it 10%. But after day 30, you can now stretch it 30%. And by the way, when you stretch it 30%, where's your new baseline? Your baseline's now 20% higher from where it was in 30 days. And then in 6 months, your baseline's 100% larger than where it was. Because remember, once your mind has expanded, so that when you've expanded your mind, meaning you visually feel the change that has occurred in your body, when you can feel that, right? When you have that, it's not intellectually understanding, it's visually feeling that, you've now created a larger baseline for yourself and for your life. And so our goal throughout this 8 weeks is to make sure that every day, every time we get in the room, every time we get on a call, we're expanding your rubber band so that by the end of this, we've created a new baseline for you so you can allow people in your life for their gifts to shine, so you can think differently and you can grow differently. And that's ultimately the goal that we want to have for everybody. So what we're going to see is you're literally going to see, we're going to discover who you are. We're going to lead yourself first. This is a really cool series of experiences and experiments. Life is truly an experiment for yourself. That's the really neat thing. Life is truly an experiment. And when you understand that life is really just an experiment, then you no longer fear failure or success. It just happens as a byproduct of who you become. And so how do you make sure you ingrain that experiment inside you? And we're going to be dissecting that piece so that you're truly living that, so you're living that full life. We're going to design your future so we know exactly where we're going. If you just got into a boat without any direction, it's not going to be there. And we're going to jump into what an ideal team structure looks like. We're going to get into some specifics of these things. And I'm going to bring you little nuggets, by the way, of things that we're doing in the real estate world. But my focus here is to expand your rubber band, because if I expand that for all of you guys, you're going to succeed beyond your wildest dreams. We're going to show you what our standards, how we use these standard metrics in there. And we're going to say when you start making more money, your money actually becomes your problem, how you deal with that, good problem to have, right? And then we're going to talk about expansion. We're going to talk about telling your story, and then how you leave a legacy, right? How do you do this? And that's the most important thing is at the end of the day, you know, the people that die peacefully are the people who lived a life of no regrets. And you can see that in people when they get towards their end. Actually, Gary talked about that at Fem Reunion, right? The people that he's been around the most, the people that have died peacefully, or the people who literally had a life of no regrets. It wasn't how much money they made. It wasn't about what medals they had or a house they had. It was that they had a life of no regrets. Typically, that does translate into a wealthier person, not just financially, but physically, spiritually, socially, financially, all of those things. So at the end of this course is how do we make sure that you are living that life of experiments and you are living that life of no regrets. In order to change a life of no regrets, you have to change your thinking, and that's what we're going to do for you guys for that whole purpose. So two things. One, there's a 20% off promo code if you guys sign up today. And most importantly, what I want you guys to take away is that what we do is at HRG, we have a monthly initiative. My team doesn't even know I'm going to do this. They're probably going to freak out. But we do a monthly initiative for HRG. Every month, last month there's a Boomtown initiative. We literally create, thousands of hours, not thousands, but hundreds of hours of staff time goes into creating these monthly initiatives for all of our teams and all of our associates. And literally every day what they have to do, how they do it, the structures, all of those things. And if you sign up today for this, what I'm going to throw in is actually our structure for 30 listings in 30 days. I talked about that in the beginning. We did that like 10 pendings, 10 days, and we had a Boomtown initiative going on, and we had over 55 pendings in 9 days so far. But in March, we've created this entire 30 listings in 30 days. So exactly what you do when you show show up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here's a script, here's everything you said, here's the playbook, here's exactly what you do. Everything's laid out. So you're going to get that as a material, as a bonus material today if you sign up for that. So make sure you work with maps to be able to do that. So I know we're going to do it. And again, I want to talk about a particular vendor today. We use Contactually a lot. So just so you guys know, Contactually allows you to really communicate at a scale while retaining the personal aspect of your relationships. Agents who use Contactually have seen an average of 42% increase in GCI. And check this out, their emails generate a response of 113% more than agents who use their platforms. They're now a KW approved vendor. Contactually has worked with Rockstar KW agents to develop the Sphere Accelerator. Again, we use these guys and they're awesome. They've taken the systems outlined in the MREA, enhanced the 33 touch and the 8x8s, and broke them down into a daily strategy designed to generate a continuous cycle of leads and listings. Again, they're creating a platform for you. There are also 3 preloaded campaigns for you to get started, one for internet leads, open houses, and core advocates. All this information is available on contactually.com/KW. You guys can see it there. All right. It's about 4 o'clock. I'm willing to stay on for just a second longer to answer any questions I have. I can see them showing up over here. Thank you. Think I get this. I get the book. How is playback available? Oh, yes, the playback will be available. You'll be able to get it. Do I eat raw eggs? I love that question. I do not. I eat about 6 eggs every morning, 4 egg whites and 2 regular eggs. I'm interested in commitment. Bacon breakfast. The chicken is interested and the pig is committed. Absolutely. Are you going with a coach? So one of the questions is I will be coaching the 8 sessions. We do have a bonus call that's going to be happening with Carrie, who's our director of growth. She was the #1 team leader in the Northwest Central area, so she's going to be doing a recruiting coaching call for you. And we typically throw in another bonus for you guys, and that may be for our systems as well, so that's going to be a good thing. And by the way, this is a group thing, so you can literally have your entire team on it. I always find, and some of the feedback that we got was having your team on it actually answers a lot of the questions for you and allow us to do the heavy hitting for you. So when they hear it from me, you're sitting in the room and they're going, yeah, that sounds great. You ever had that? Another person come in, you've been telling somebody something for so long, and somebody else tells them, they go out and do it, and you're like, what? Right? And so that's the beauty about it, is you can have your entire team. If it's just you, that's awesome. If you want your team on there, that's great, so they can hear it literally, so that when you come back and you want to implement the things and you guys work on them together, you actually have that accountability for the same thing. The webinar is at the same time each week, but it is recorded, so it makes it very easy. It's like Netflix, right? So it makes it very easy for you guys to do it. We always love to do it live. We do it live at the same time, but the recording goes out to you all there. We will repost the registration link. Hallie, can you please do that? It is $6.99. It is 20% off today if you sign up for it, plus you get those different materials. The code we're going to send one more time. Again, I have a lot of questions about what I use for particular follow-up systems and different things. Again, each week we're going to bring one of those, because that was a big thing we had last time. So I want to bring a KW-approved vendor and talk about them, of what we use to help them out and help you guys out as well too. And in order to get the 30 listings 30 days packet, you signed up, so Matt will take care of that. A lot of questions here. There today. Okay, great. When is the last day to sign up? It's right before the event, which starts next Tuesday, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it starts next Tuesday. But Hallie will get you guys all the details for it. So thank you guys so much. I'm super excited to serve you guys. I love it, and I'm excited to start next week and have you guys on the call. It's going to be an awesome ride. Have a wonderful day.